Number 1. Jodi Arias, a love turned lethal. The case of Jodi Arias is one of the most infamous in modern American crime history. In June 2008, the quiet city of Mesa, Arizona, was rocked when 30-year-old Travis Alexander was discovered brutally murdered in his own home. His body showed shocking signs of violence: 27 stab wounds, a deep throat slash, and even a gunshot wound to the head. At first, Jodi, his ex-girlfriend, denied any involvement, spinning different stories including blaming masked intruders. Eventually, she admitted to the killing, but claimed it was an act of self-defense. Prosecutors, however, painted her as a jealous and manipulative woman driven by obsession. Her trial in 2013 became a nationwide media spectacle, with Arias herself testifying for 18 long days, portraying herself as the victim. The prosecution countered with evidence of premeditation, arguing the crime was deliberate and cold-blooded. After months of gripping testimony, she was convicted of first-degree murder. While the jury could not agree on the death penalty, in April 2015, the judge sentenced her to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The name Jodi Arias has since remained etched in the public mind as a chilling reminder of how love, jealousy, and obsession can spiral into horrific violence. Number 2. Shayna Hubers, the killer who smiled. In October 2012, the small community of Highland Heights, Kentucky, was thrust into the national spotlight after a shocking crime of passion. At the center was 21-year-old Shayna Hubers, who shot her 29-year-old boyfriend, attorney Ryan Poston, 6 times inside his own condominium. Their romance had long been toxic, filled with jealousy, frequent arguments, and repeated breakups that painted a picture of obsession and volatility. On the night of October 12th, Ryan had plans to meet another woman for a casual drink, but he never made it. His life was cut short by Shayna's bullets. After her arrest, Shayna insisted she acted in self-defense, but her strange behavior in police custody told another story. She laughed, cracked jokes, even danced in the interrogation room. Behavior that shocked the public and cast serious doubt on her credibility. In 2015, a jury found her guilty of murder and sentenced her to 40 years in prison, though she would have been eligible for parole after 20. However, that verdict was overturned in 2016 when it was revealed that a juror had a hidden felony record. A second trial was held in 2018, and once again, the evidence was overwhelming. This time, the court handed down a life sentence, ensuring Shayna Hubers would forever be remembered as the woman whose obsession and jealousy ended in cold-blooded murder. Number 3. Sarah Boone, the suitcase killer. In February 2020, Winter Park, Florida, was shaken by a disturbing crime that sounded almost unreal at first. A 911 call from 42-year-old Sarah Boone reported that her boyfriend, Jorge Torres Jr., had died during what she described as a night of drinking and a game of hide-and-seek with a suitcase. Boone claimed it was nothing more than a tragic accident, but investigators soon uncovered chilling evidence that pointed to something far darker. When detectives examined Boone's phone, they discovered 2 shocking videos recorded that night. In them, Torres can be heard desperately pleading, "I can't breathe," while trapped inside the zipped suitcase. Boone's own voice is captured on the recordings, mocking him and coldly remarking, "That's what it feels like when you cheat on me," as she laughs in the background. Hours later, Torres suffocated to death, turning what Boone had tried to dismiss as an accident into undeniable proof of cruelty and intent. During her trial, Boone argued that she had never meant to kill her partner, but prosecutors insisted the video evidence spoke louder than her words, exposing her indifference as he begged for his life. After a 10-day trial, on October 25, 2024, Sarah Boone was convicted of second-degree murder. Just a few weeks later, on December 3, 2024, she was sentenced to life in prison. Today, her name is forever tied to one of the most bizarre and chilling cases of domestic homicide in Florida's history. Number 4. Taylor Shabuzinas, the cannibal of Green Bay. In February 2022, the quiet city of Green Bay, Wisconsin, became the scene of one of the most gruesome and shocking murders in recent history. Taylor Shabuzinas, a 24-year-old woman, horrified the nation when she brutally killed and dismembered her 25-year-old ex-boyfriend, Shad Therian. The two had spent the night together under the heavy influence of methamphetamine, and what began as an intimate encounter turned into a nightmare. Shabuzinas strangled Shad to death during intercourse, and instead of stopping there, she mutilated his body in a way that stunned even experienced investigators. The true horror of the crime came to light when Shad's mother made the heartbreaking discovery. In her basement, she found her son's severed head inside a bucket, a sight that would haunt her forever. As police searched further, they located additional body parts scattered throughout the house and in a nearby van. Just hours later, Shabuzinas was arrested, still covered in blood, and she shockingly admitted to the murder without hesitation. Her trial became a chilling study of depravity. Prosecutors argued that the crime went far beyond murder, describing it as a deliberate and sadistic act of mutilation. In July 2023, she was convicted on multiple charges, including first-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, and third-degree sexual assault. On September 26, 2023, the court delivered its final judgment. Taylor Shabuzinas was sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole. Her case stands as one of the darkest examples of how drugs, violence, and unrestrained impulses can lead to unimaginable horror. Number 5. Kelly Cochran, the Black Widow of Iron River. In October 2014, the small town of Iron River, Michigan, became the backdrop for a chilling tale of betrayal and murder. At the center was Kelly Cochran, a 33-year-old woman who secretly began an affair with her co-worker, Chris Regan. What Regan never knew was that Kelly and her husband, Jason, lived under a twisted marriage pact. If either of them strayed, the unfaithful partner's lover would have to die. On October 14th, Kelly lured Chris Regan into her home under the pretense of a romantic encounter. Instead, Jason ambushed him with a gunshot, and together the couple dismembered his body, scattering the remains in the nearby woods. For nearly 18 months, Regan's disappearance remained a haunting mystery, baffling investigators and tormenting his loved ones. The truth finally unraveled when Kelly, under mounting pressure, confessed to her role in the gruesome plot. But the darkness did not end there. In 2016, Jason Cochran himself was found dead at their home in Hobart, Indiana. Authorities revealed that Kelly had poisoned him with heroin before suffocating him, eliminating the very man who had once been her partner in crime. To prosecutors, Kelly was not just a murderer. She was a predator who destroyed anyone who got in her way. In 2017, Kelly Cochran was convicted of first-degree murder in Michigan and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The following year, Indiana courts added another 65-year sentence for her husband's killing. Her story, drenched in deceit, betrayal, and violence, has since earned her the chilling title of the Black Widow of Iron River. Number 6. Ana Trujillo, the Stiletto Killer. In June 2013, the city of Houston, Texas, was stunned by a murder that was as bizarre as it was brutal. Police were called to a luxury high-rise apartment where they discovered the lifeless body of Dr. Stefan Anderson, a well-respected professor and researcher. Standing accused of his shocking death was his girlfriend, 44-year-old Ana Trujillo, a woman whose weapon of choice would make headlines around the world. According to investigators, an argument between the couple escalated into violence, and Trujillo attacked Anderson in a fit of rage. What made the crime particularly horrific was the method. She straddled him and repeatedly struck him in the face and head with her high-heeled stiletto shoe. By the end of the assault, Anderson had been stabbed at least 25 times with a sharp heel, leaving deep puncture wounds that told the story of his desperate struggle. Trujillo insisted she had acted in self-defense, claiming Anderson was the aggressor. But prosecutors dismantled her claim, noting that her body showed no signs of injury, while Anderson's corpse bore clear evidence of defensive wounds. To them, it was obvious. This was not a woman fighting for survival, but one lashing out with deadly intent. The trial quickly drew national attention, as the unusual murder weapon captured public fascination. In April 2014, the jury found Ana Trujillo guilty of murder. The very next day, the court imposed the harshest sentence allowed under the law: life in prison, with the chance of parole only after serving 30 years. Her story became forever linked with a chilling nickname: the Stiletto Killer, a reminder of how something as ordinary as a shoe could be turned into a weapon of extraordinary violence. Number 7. Kamia Gamet, the girlfriend executioner. On May 18, 2013, a horrifying scene unfolded inside the Michigan apartment shared by Kamia Gamet and her boyfriend, 38-year-old Marcel Hill. What began as yet another argument in their troubled relationship spiraled into unimaginable violence. Armed with a knife, Gamet unleashed a savage attack, stabbing Marcel repeatedly until his body was left with more than a dozen deep wounds. Investigators later described the crime scene as one of sheer brutality, with prosecutors going so far as to call the killing nothing short of an execution. During her trial, the prosecution painted a picture of a woman consumed by rage, driven not by fear, but by cruelty and control. Marcel's wounds showed signs of a prolonged assault, not a single moment of self-defense. The ferocity of the attack suggested she intended not only to kill, but to make her victim suffer. When the case came before the court in 2014, the evidence was overwhelming, and Kamia Gamet was convicted of first-degree murder. At sentencing, the presiding judge delivered a statement that would echo through the media. He condemned her savagery, saying, "You gutted him like a fish. If this were a death penalty state, you would be getting the chair. I hope you die in prison." With those words, he handed down the maximum punishment: life behind bars, without the possibility of parole. Today, Kamia Gamet is remembered not just as a murderer, but as a chilling example of how intimate relationships can sometimes descend into deadly obsession. Her case continues to serve as a grim reminder of how anger and violence, left unchecked, can turn a home into a crime scene and love into lethal hatred. Number 8. Julia Enright, the Treehouse Temptress. In June 2018, Massachusetts was rocked by the chilling case of Julia Enright, a college student whose dark fascination with death and violence turned deadly. She lured her 20-year-old ex-boyfriend, Brandon Chickless, to a secluded treehouse under the guise of a friendly reunion. For Brandon, it must have seemed like a chance to reconnect. But instead, that hidden spot became the place where his young life was cut short. 17 days later, his decomposed body was discovered, and investigators soon uncovered disturbing details. Inside the treehouse, police found blood evidence linking Julia directly to the crime, as well as bizarre and unsettling journals she had kept. These writings painted a picture of a young woman with morbid fantasies, someone fascinated by pain and control. Despite her claims that she acted in self-defense, prosecutors argued that the evidence pointed clearly to premeditation and a deliberate plan to kill. The trial, which stretched over several years, revealed the contrast between Julia's outward image as a student and the dark, violent impulses that lay beneath the surface. In 2021, a jury convicted her of second-degree murder, rejecting her self-defense story. On March 4, 2022, she was sentenced to life in prison, with the possibility of parole only after 25 years. The case of Julia Enright stands out not only for the cruelty of the act, but also for the eerie setting. A treehouse, often a symbol of childhood innocence, transformed into the site of a brutal killing, forever branded as the treehouse temptress. Enright's story serves as a haunting reminder of how obsession, deception, and hidden darkness can destroy even the most unsuspecting lives. Number 9. Mackenzie Shirilla, the teen killer behind the wheel. In the summer of 2022, the quiet suburb of Strongsville, Ohio, became the site of a tragedy that shocked the nation. At just 17 years old, Mackenzie Shirilla committed an act so deliberate and devastating that it left her community reeling. On July 31st, she climbed behind the wheel of her Toyota Camry, her boyfriend Dominic Russo, 20, and his friend Davian Flanagan, 19, sitting beside her. What should have been a simple drive turned into a death sentence. Instead of slowing down, Mackenzie pressed her foot harder and harder on the accelerator, reaching speeds of nearly 100 miles per hour. In a horrifying moment, she drove the car straight into a brick building, never once attempting to brake. The impact was catastrophic. Both Dominic and Davion were killed instantly. Investigators later revealed chilling evidence. Surveillance footage showed Mackenzie's car hurtling forward without hesitation, and the car's black box confirmed the accelerator had been floored right until the final second. When the case went to trial, prosecutors painted her actions as intentional, not accidental. They argued that she turned her car into a weapon, using it to carry out a double murder. In August 2023, a jury agreed, convicting her on multiple charges, including murder, aggravated vehicular homicide, and felonious assault. The court handed down 2 concurrent terms of 15 years to life in prison, meaning she will spend the prime years of her adulthood behind bars. Mackenzie Shirilla's story is a chilling reminder of how recklessness mixed with intent can turn a vehicle, a symbol of freedom and independence, into an instrument of destruction. Forever known as the teen killer behind the wheel, her case stands as one of the most haunting examples of youthful choices with fatal, irreversible consequences. Number 10. Rosa Baca, the hammer killer of Porterville. On the night of December 17, 2018, the quiet community of Porterville, California was shaken by an act of unimaginable brutality. Inside the modest home she shared with her longtime boyfriend, 38-year-old Jose Salude Magana, Rosa Baca unleashed a violent attack that would end his life. Armed with a hammer, she struck him again and again, inflicting wounds so severe that he was left fatally beaten before help could ever arrive. When detectives arrived at the scene, they were met with a trail of evidence that left little doubt about what had taken place. Jose's body bore the marks of a merciless assault, and investigators described the crime as not only violent, but deliberate and cruel. The brutality of the attack painted a disturbing picture. This was no moment of passion, but a killing marked by torture and rage. The case moved swiftly into the courtroom, where prosecutors presented the overwhelming evidence against Baca. Witness testimony, forensic proof, and the sheer nature of the crime convinced jurors that the murder had been premeditated and carried out with extraordinary cruelty. In a unanimous decision, the jury convicted her of first-degree murder with special circumstances, including torture and the use of a deadly weapon. On August 1, 2023, Rosa Baca stood before the judge to receive her fate. Showing no real remorse for the horrors she inflicted, she was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. For the family of Jose Magana, the verdict delivered justice, but it could never erase the pain of losing him in such a savage way. Today, Rosa Baca remains behind bars, remembered as the woman who turned a hammer, a tool meant for building, into a weapon of destruction. Her story serves as one of the darkest reminders of how rage and violence can transform a home into a crime scene and a relationship into a tragedy. If you enjoyed this video, I will be posting more interesting videos on the channel. I'd greatly appreciate it if you could like and subscribe.